Okay, part two of chapter four, the pressure principle. In Dada's car, I couldn't stop sniffing and blowing my nose. I came to the realization that snot is a byproduct of tears. The tear ducts must be attached to your nostrils somehow. Why else would your nose fill up with so much of that gunk when you cry? Dada pulled into the parking lot of the mall and asked if I wanted to come in with him to purchase a new phone for Brooklyn. Looking down at my hands, which were holding the mess I'd made of Dada's bandana, I shook my head and said, "No, sir, no thank you. I'd rather wait here, please." Dada reached over and took my chin gently in his fingers and turned my face toward him. "Remember, Mango, sometimes when it seems things are falling apart, they're really just falling into place." What does that mean? Think about it. Sit back, relax yourself, and let it roll around in your brain for a while. I tried to take his advice, but I didn't get to do much thinking. It seems as though the minute I shut my eyes, I fell fast asleep. Crying and dealing with a bunch of emotions is exhausting. I didn't wake up until Dada had pulled into his parking space in the garage beneath our apartment building. I knew my eyes were red and puffy from all the crying and sleeping, so I was happy no one else was in the elevator as it tugged us up to the 6th floor. Not that I'm vain or anything. At least I don't think I was more vain than any other 12-year-old girl. Seriously, who wanted to be seen looking like they'd been through 5 rounds with a boxing kangaroo? Jasper was in his high chair when we entered the kitchen. Oblivious to what had gone on, he started bouncing and holding out his chubby arms until I picked him up. He was happy to see me. It seemed he was the only one. Mom, lips pressed tight together as if she were holding in a mouthful of scolding, only stared at me with her fists on her hips. Dada gave her a hug and placed the bag with Brooklyn's new phone on the counter. Mom immediately reached into the bag and took out the receipt. A hand went to her chest. $450, Sid? Who buys a child a phone for $450? Mom was the family accountant. She was the one who paid the bills, set the budget, clipped coupons, hunted for sales, and made sure nothing was wasted. It's not that she was a cheapskate. It's just that she felt responsible for making Dada's paycheck stretch as far as possible, especially since she stopped working when Jasper was born. It didn't make sense for her to go back to working full time until Jasper was old enough to go to school, because childcare cost more than her pay as a manager at Target. She was a pretty good writer, though, so she held on to her freelance job writing articles on high school and college sports for the local newspaper. That job didn't pay much at all, but she hoped she'd become the full-time sports editor when the current one retired, quit, got fired, or was abducted by aliens. Mom took the box out of the bag and examined the phone. "This is top of the line. What kid needs this much storage?" "I know," Dada said. "I purchased that model as a way to sort of make it up to Brooklyn for what happened today." "You mean for what your daughter did," Mom said, looking at me and narrowing her eyes. "It was always your daughter or that daughter of yours whenever I did anything to displease her." When her temper blasted off, she dropped me like a hot potato. "What about what Brooklyn did?" I asked, my lips trembling. "She didn't deserve to get a better phone for—" I cut myself off, not wanting to step into all of those emotions again. Dada moved towards me with his arms outstretched. "What, Mango? Why won't you say what she did to make you destroy her property?" His brow furrowed over his almond eyes. I could see that Dada, the most easygoing man on the planet, was slowly losing his patience with me. Jasper whined as I put him back in his high chair. "May I be excused, please?" "No," Mom said, her fist back on her hips. "Not until we discuss your punishment." "I've already been suspended from Girls on Track." "I'm sorry to hear that, but that's the school's punishment. You also have to pay for what you've done to the family." "What have I done to the family?" Unintentionally, my fists went on my hips, mirroring Mom and her attitude. Dada held up his hand to me. "Watch your tone, Mango." I'm not being disrespectful. I dropped my hands to my side. But I think I should know what kind of horrible thing I've done to the family to deserve more punishment. Mom folded her arm across her chest. Your father just paid $450 to replace a phone you destroyed. Do you know where that money came from? Do you? I didn't speak, although I knew the answer. It came from the money he has been saving to open his own restaurant, to follow his dream, to make a better life for all of us. So your actions have cut into all our futures. Do you understand? Dada held up his hand to Mom. Settle down, Margie. I pushed back. That's not my fault. He didn't have to buy a $450 phone. Mango, you know your father, Brooks' father is my boss. If we don't make this right, it's not only you who's going to have a hard time. Do you understand? I guess, but I'm still not sorry. Mango, Mom said. I'm not! Fine. If you won't be sorry for what you've done, maybe you'll be sorry for this. You will not get your own phone until you are 14 years old. Not 13 anymore, but 14. Your actions have cost you another year. That's not fair. Is it fair that you've cost your father nearly $500? Is it fair that he has to walk on eggshells around his boss because of what you did? Tell me, Mango, what in all this mess is fair? Jasper started to whisper, agitated by the raised voices and the tension that threatened to blow our kitchen to pieces. I wanted to shout at my mother, scream that it was all her fault. I didn't tell her what really happened because I was standing up for her. I was hurting for her. Here I was protecting her feelings, and she turned out to be the cruelest one of all. No, no one knew. No one I knew had to wait until they were 14 to get a phone. No one. Having to wait till I was 13 when lots of kids were getting their first phones at 11 or 12 was bad enough. But if I had no phone until I was 14, I'd be more of a social outcast than anyone. I turned to Dada, but he just shook his head and looked away. He wasn't going to go against Mom. They always stuck together whether they agreed with each other or not. I wished I had a missile strong enough to break through their united front. Dada broke his silence as he headed for the door. I have to get back to the restaurant before the dinner service begins. Mom asked, Aren't you going to take the phone with you? No, the principal wants Mango to hand it over to Brooklyn in her office tomorrow and apologize. I turned away. It would be a waste of breath telling them that I refuse to apologize, so I didn't say anything. But I wasn't sorry for what had happened. And although I was pretty good at pretending to be happy for someone when I really wasn't, I was terrible at faking my feelings to myself. I'd rather be banned from having a phone until I was 114 than apologize to Brooklyn. Not after what she texted. Well, that's the end of chapter 4. Sorry for some of the flubs. But listen, do you think Mango should apologize to Brooklyn? Would you? See you at chapter 5.